Hello, Jean and Ricky. How are you guys doing this morning?
Doing great.
I'm surviving.
Yeah. Everyone, as you can see, we have another guest. Super excited to have Ricky Lucky Smith here joining us from Win Technology. As some of you know, Win Technology is one of the owners in White Paw. So we wanted to ask him to join because he takes care of Win takes care of the network, which is one thing I should say they take care of for us, but we also partner with them on other service offerings. And so knowing that we need network connectivity in order to provide video signals, we thought we would take the opportunity to kind of talk about what that looks like and how maybe there's some differences between how Netflix uses network and how we would like to be able to play the same way Netflix does, but can't today contractually, and how we have to do things because of programmers and in the streaming side of the business that we're in today. Sound good?
Yes.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Ricky, why don't you give us a little background on what you do and
Sure. Just simply put, right? Like we do networking at Win Technologies, and it makes it sound simple, but there's a lot of infrastructure that goes into delivery of all the things that people want to use.
For sure.
And video is one of them that you deliver, and you deliver that over the top of fiber infrastructure, over the internet with routing, and it gets to somebody's home and on their TV. And a lot of times, out of sight, out of mind, it's just good. And it's just I'm on the record for saying I thought cable TV was dying. However,
I remember.
Yes, it's out of context. It sounds like, yes, cable TV is going away. It's not. It's just the way we deliver cable TV is changing, and also I'm a little biased because I'm an internet engineer at heart, and so I think everything should use the internet. And so yes, so that's a little bit about me and what our company does.
I would just like to note, Gene, we should put this on the calendar that he said it's not dying and it's just changing delivery, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And like a lot of things, change is inevitable, right? And it's adapting to the change. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going away, again, like newspapers and CDs, right? I mean, you still listen to music and you still read the news. It's just the way you do it is differently. And we're doing the same thing with TV. It's just going to be a little bit different in how you watch things. So
absolutely. Yeah. And so should we take some time and just kind of chat about, how the networks are different, right? So when we started delivering video, you invested in this very expensive network called the Nimbra, right? That we use for multicast. And now as things change, the delivery options and being able to do that is different and more economical and maybe a little more forgiving than what it used to be when you launched the multicast traditional set-top box at a home. Would you agree?
I want to agree, I guess.
If you don't, you don't.
I would add on maybe something, maybe a perspective is, sometimes we think like putting stuff over the internet's making it better. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. It's kind of become this universal media for how to deliver anything content related. To be honest, that Nimbra network and that multicast network was dedicated for video. And so I think actually it delivered it better than the internet's going to do, but it's certainly not going to do it at the same cost.
Right.
And so, I think that's the one caveat is, if it was scalable, we would probably still keep everything on a multicast network and build a secondary worldwide multicast global network for everything.
For sure. Yeah. But no, that's absolutely right. And I mean, one of the things too, like I mentioned earlier, we wanted to touch on is just the difference in, how Netflix and Amazon content rides people's networks. We're looking to onboard a new affiliate and they're like, well, why do we have to pay franchise fees? And we're like, there's a lot more that you don't understand because of how we're required to do things compared to how Netflix is able to do things. So Jean, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I feel like we are still obligated. And look, there's been lawsuits and challenges to this, and
Yep.
maybe someday it will go in our favor that if we're delivering signal using the internet, we don't necessarily need to pay franchise fees anymore. But right now we are, because we are using facilities based, IP infrastructure. Even though we have the ability to go over the internet, we don't really. And that's not what Netflix is doing. They're using our internet for sure,
Oh
but
yeah.
they're not using our facilities necessarily. And so I think that's where the distinction comes from the franchise fees. But we'll see. Maybe, like Emily, you and I always say, just level the playing field. Either
Yes.
we don't
100%.
and they don't, or
Yeah.
we do and they do. And I think that's what we're all just looking for, is
Yeah.
let's all play by the same rules in
Yeah.
this game, and not give one entity no rules and then rules for the rest of us. So
Right. Because you can argue like they're riding the pipe for free and we're having to pay now this dedicated transport in order to get there. So, I mean, that alone is just making what we can offer, which, I mean, Netflix is not comparable to what we do, right? We're a multi-video channel provider, but still YouTube and all of the other players. So it's just, yeah, we'll see how it all shakes out in the end, I suppose.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to think about, and there are differences that it is what it is, I guess.
Did you guys know that in 2014, when I was first taking over the internet side of Win, Netflix was actually 50% of all of our bandwidth
Really?
at that time. Yep.
Wow. Now what would you say they're at?
Yeah.
They're like at 20%. I mean, they were the only content streamer really at the time. And now there's so much competition. Like, it's exploded. I mean, in a good way for competition, bad way for like, how do I figure out what show and where it is?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's tons of streaming options out there.
Yep. It's crazy.
And it is
And you just have such insight into what they're doing. And like, do you do anything differently when there's going to be a big game? Like when on Christmas, Netflix is going to have NFL games, or on Thursday nights, Amazon is going to have NFL games, or when there's going to be a big live event on a streamer that doesn't normally have live events, right? Like most of those streamers just have content in a library and they don't do something live. But when they all of a sudden switch to a live event, do you do anything different to prepare for that?
From a network perspective, we certainly do. So when we find out, if we get a lot of time ahead of time to find out, we can do a lot more prep. So like the Tyson fight was a great example of like, we knew that was going to be a bandwidth hit, and we had lots of time to prep. But and a counterexample to that is we don't know when NFL playoff game schedules are set, because they're not set until the last game of the year.
Right.
And we get blindsided as a regional provider in Wisconsin when the Packers and the Bears are now on a streaming only platform 1 week from a notification. And now we're scrambling like, oh my gosh, that's all going to go over bandwidth now, and no local streaming. And so, yeah, there's certainly a lot of effort to upgrade pipes, and remind you that it's fiber infrastructure is physical. Like if we don't have the physical capability to upgrade, it just doesn't happen. There's some dispatches maybe that happen if we can do some small things, but at large part, if you don't have that physical infrastructure, doesn't matter. You're not scrambling to change anything overnight.
So much complexity to it, right? Like from the programmers to the network, and not having the relationships, Ricky, you don't, with the programmers, and just, really we're all one piece of the puzzle required to make this happen. And sometimes we don't have the visibility, to your point, and seeing it. Yeah.
Well, or the relationship, as you highlighted.
Yeah. Like the regular consumer doesn't have the visibility. They're all trying to figure out where this is. And like to Ricky's point, sometimes you don't know until like just right before, or, a couple days before, where this game is going to be. And like playoffs is a perfect example. Both NHL and NBA are just starting their playoffs, and, like just announcing for games that are tomorrow, when and where they're going to be. And it's just kind of crazy that we have to scramble to get this all figured out. So yeah, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah, for sure. So Ricky, what is I always like listening to you and your predictions. What do you predict is going to change in the next 5 years? Or is that too far out? 2 years?
No, I think 5 years or 10 years is probably easier to predict because nobody can hold me to it. I think the biggest change is, right now the economic model behind this video delivery isn't sustainable. What I'm doing as a network provider to make sure the infrastructure and the fiber and all that stuff is built is that cost is being burdened to the subscribers. But there's no cost for any other element of delivery. It's just the subscribers that are bearing the cost of delivery, and that's being commoditized. So I don't know where this quality of like being able to deliver content is going to be sustainable without fixing how the money's split between all the different entities that have to go into delivering it. I wish I was talking with Amazon before they say we're going to do this thing, because then we could work together and maybe prep something to deliver. I know we talk and you deliver content, and we work together to make sure that your content that you're helping deliver rides the network great, and the subscriber has this great experience.
No, absolutely. And I know we're getting near the end here where we'll probably wrap up, but on top of that, thinking about like the fact that you can't get fiber right now because of AI, right? The server prices are going through the roof, and putting edge caches out in networks, which used to be the way you would do it to not have to spend as much money on bandwidth. Now it's flipping. Like bandwidth's cheaper than having to buy the hardware. And so having to pivot and redesign how we're doing things is ridiculous. And the fact that you can't get fiber, and then knowing we need fiber, clearly based on what you're saying, Ricky, you're never going to have enough. You're always going to need more. Now you can't even get it. What does the future look like? It'll be interesting.
It will.
So any last final thoughts before we call it done? Ricky, Gene?
I got one last thought, I guess I'll share. And, if the price of the product is free, then you are the product. And so I hope people keep that in mind as they're picking their streaming products.
Oh. I like it. Yes.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us, Ricky. And, before we actually came on camera, we talked about maybe we should do one of these like for happy hour instead of the morning. Yeah. So Emily, maybe we'll revisit with Ricky like later this summer, and we'll do it in a happy hour style and revisit some of these topics.
I love it. Yes, that would be awesome. Cool.
All right.
Okay. Thanks for joining.